It is finally here. We are getting into rivalry week. The game is on Saturday. Let's talk about not only what Michigan needs to do against Michigan State this weekend, but also how they got to be the point where they rebounded. We're going to do it right here on this episode again, not against Locked On Wolverines, of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire. That's my quarterback. He is in the pocket, not the huddle. I still am getting it, Jack. We're still getting it. But people are
still, yeah. They're still wanting you to change it and giving you suggestions, you know, and it's honestly pretty funny every single week to see.
But guess what? If anything, we're gonna, if we change it, it's gonna be more like, you know, downfield with Jack Tuttle, or we'll even go like, we'll steal Jansen's thing. We'll be in the trenches with Jack Tuttle, but Tuttle, no. Thanks to all of our everydayers. Thanks to everyone who's making us your first listen. Big shout out. Oh man, I can't remember her name. I think her name was Taylor. I met her at the UM Club of Greater Flint yesterday. So I think that was her name, was Taylor, and I'm just terrible with names. But anyhow, let's get into it, Jack. Michigan rebounded in a big way. Didn't just look competent; they looked confident this week against Washington, a team that certainly had a lot of offensive firepower. Just a week ago, DeMond Williams Jr. had 400 yards through the air and 100 plus yards on the ground. It was, I think, the best performance by a Big Ten quarterback in that type of like mix. So when you look at it, why do you think that Michigan was able to rebound? And what does that say about the players in that locker room, that they were able to stick together to be able to come away with that win?
Yeah, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there, Isaiah. You said this team looked confident. They looked united. And they really did. They looked like they had a ton of confidence. And Sharon said after the game, he said, we had a lot of talks this week. We had a lot of meetings, tough conversations. You know, maybe they didn't think they were going to have, but they did it. And, you know, the players really set this team on the right track. And I'm so proud of them for that. They looked so good out there together and confident, like you said. And that's what they had to do this past week. And they did it. And they really all looked like they were on the same page. And, you know, I'm proud of the players for that overall. And that was the first thing we talked about last week. We said, hey, they gotta get on the same page. And they did. They really did. And now they propelled themselves in the right direction.
Yeah, it was really good to see, because especially the game last week, I mean, the defense stood strong. It took a little bit of time for the offense to gel, but once it did in the second half, based off of some defensive momentum, I feel like you saw all phases of the game really clicking. I think it was Joel Klatt who was talking about Michigan throwing when they want to rather than when they have to. And obviously it started with the run game. Offensively, how impressed are you with what they were able to do? And especially true freshman Andrew Marsh, a guy that you had talked about to me preseason off the record. We're bringing it on the record now, because I think everyone's starting to see it. You were like, this guy could be the next great Michigan wide receiver. And I think we're starting to see that now.
Yeah, and we did talk about it a while ago, and he is playing at such a high level for such a young kid. And we kind of knew that, you know, the whole staff really knew that when he came in. Oh, this kid is just naturally gifted. And I knew he was going to have an impact on this team in some type of way this year. And he did. And, you know, going back to your starting topic, the offense and what do I think about them? You know, I think there was a lot of improvement this week. I think some turnovers helped set them up for some scores. But I was really pleased with Bryce's progression this game. You know, he didn't have his best game the week before. but he really came out this game and just kind of attacked, the naysayers and the haters and people saying, oh, you can't throw, you can't do that. He came out and did a fantastic job going through his progressions. That throw to, I think it was Deacon Tonelli, that corner ball, which really just kind of sealed the game for him, was an unbelievable throw. That's an NFL caliber throw. And he really just shut up the haters this week because he played fantastic against a good team. So that's very exciting for us to see, as well as, like we just said, Andrew Marsh. And, I knew, Jordan Marshall he's a starting Big Ten. He could start anywhere in the country. Let's be honest. And, we've seen a lot of Justice Haynes this year and less of Jordan, but let's be honest, both of those guys can be NFL caliber running backs and are. So seeing Jordan take over this week and, lead this team on the ground, he's more of a ground and pound type guy, and where Justice is a fast and get on the edge and just big play, one cut back kind of guy. They have their differences, but, it really complements each other. They really complement each other in the run game. It's pretty cool to see because, you have this thunder kind of running back and then this lightning kind of running back. It's a nice 1-2 punch. So we'll see how they use them as the year goes on. I'm excited to watch that.
You kind of got ahead of me a little bit because that's what I was going to ask you. Predate a little bit, but Hassan Haskins was thunder and Blake Corum was lightning. Blake Corum, by the time you were there, was a little bit of a do everything back, but in 2021, that really kind of wasn't the case. He was hit the hole and go, whereas Hassan Haskins was the fall forward, fight for those extra tough yards, drag the pile from 3 yards to 8 yards, and we saw that from Jordan. But I wanted to ask you, because you've been on the team with Jordan, and also with what people were saying in the off season and fall camp and spring ball. A lot of the talk as it pertained to the running backs we'd ask, how do they complement each other? And the response to that was usually, well, they're kind of the same back, but and now we're seeing a little bit of a different side of Jordan. How much do you feel like he's added that to his game or brought that out, or has that already been there and he's just being able to hone it?
Just the kind of thunder part of his game, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, most people in that facility have kind of known, really, since he came in, he was going to be that kind of back. He's fast and he's talented and he's quick. There's no doubt about it. But you'd see it in scrimmages and then really in the Alabama game last year. He's just a ground and pound type back and not afraid to meet anybody in the A gap, to be honest. I don't know if there's, a single person in the country who's going to be delighted to tackle Jordan Marshall in the A gap. That kid is a bruiser and he's extremely tough, great attitude. So, he's kind of always been like that. And I think it's going to keep evolving for him. There's going to be more parts of his game that'll keep growing. He can catch the ball too. He's not just, a bruiser. He can catch the ball. So there's a lot of things they can do with these guys. And it's really exciting for their offense, to have two, NFL type caliber backs.
Yeah, I think that's going to bode really well, especially Justice if he returns and just being able to guard against that. Michigan State, not the greatest run defense. We'll talk about Michigan State. We're going to start doing so here in just a moment. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is the Cole Sullivan interception, which led to the Jordan Marshall touchdown on the very next play. Cole Sullivan always seems to be in the right place at the right time. He has a knack for finding the ball. He leads the team in interceptions from the linebacker position. He is a second-year player. What more can you want? And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Jack, you're and just like the watchers, not the listeners. The listeners don't get the benefit of this. You're getting to see more of my house.
Yeah, I am. I've gotten kind of a full tour almost at this point. I feel like I've seen like the living room, the kitchen, basement. I think it's the basement. Is it?
No, it's that's just the spare bedroom that's turned into an office.
Into the studio?
Yeah, that's
Yeah. I feel like I have
basement. That wouldn't work out very well.
It's been a nice tour so far. Maybe we'll do an in-person podcast one of these days. That'd be fun.
I am getting a new camera next week, a cinema camera. And actually, I'm pretty sure I just got a text from the camera store down the street saying it's in. So nice. I won't be getting it till next week, but I'll definitely want to put that to use as I start to become sports Peter McKinnon. That's the goal. But it's funny. I said this off air. I don't know why I'm saying all this right now, but because of the broken hand, and we're both a little out of it today. If you're watching or listening, Jack's a little under the weather. I'm just exhausted because I had to wake up insanely early to go and have a checkup on my hand. And they're like, "Yep, still broken." I'm like, "Cool." I'm glad I woke up early for that. And at least I finally got to see it where it's broken. And I was like, I'm going to set up in the kitchen today because it's just like setting up because there's stuff that you can't see here. Like I'm lit and everything. I don't mean in like a, Gen X sort of way, but Gen Z rather. But I was like, okay, ended up being too much work, but nonetheless, let's get to Michigan State. So let's see for intrinsic value, who started the firestorm last week. We're starting this at 11:38 on the recording, so you can clip it here and just go ahead and go nuts. So let's just start with some controversy. Jack, how terrible is Michigan? No, I'm not going to ask it that way.
Well, we don't like Michigan State. That's for sure. That's always been a fact, and they can be mad at that all they want. But it's a big rivalry, and rivalry games, you can never, sometimes, in 23, when we were going to East Lansing with Coach Harbaugh, we obviously took that game seriously, but the message was, hey, anything can happen in a rivalry game. We need to be like ready to go. Like this is going to be a top-notch game. It's going to be loud. He would always say, I don't care if MSU is, defeated, hasn't won a game, or they're undefeated. We're going to play them the same way. And that's how we approached that game that year. And I'm assuming that's how they're going to approach it this year. They don't care if they're struggling. They don't care if they're undefeated. They have to, be on edge and ready to go to play this game because they're going to East Lansing. It's not in the big house like it was last year. They're going to East Lansing. The game's probably going to be packed and, a little chilly, but that never affects the boys. So got to be ready to go.
It affects me though. I don't like it. I'm standing pretty much still. I'm not moving. I'm not running around maybe, but anyway, and I am preparing for that. But with that said, it's road game in East Lansing. How much does everything kind of stay the same as a home game in terms of like a lot of the preparation? This is one of the things that people always ask. Like, does the team stays, I'm assuming, at the typical home game team hotel, all that kind of stuff? Like, how does that normally work? How do you prepare for a road game that's only an hour drive away?
Yeah, and some teams will stay, in East Lansing. Some will just drive up on Friday or Saturday, considering it's been, it's a night game for, what is it, like 3 years in a row now? Mm-hmm. Is that becoming a thing? I'm unsure.
Apparently it's stupid. At one point they're like, this can never be a night game, and now it's just always a night game.
Yeah, so they may stay in the team hotel down in Ann Arbor and then just walk through at this facility Saturday morning, or maybe they just go up to East Lansing and just do their deal. But, either way, this team's going to have to prepare for the stadium a little differently because there's going to be noise. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a hostile environment. And there's going to be crowd noise played in Schembechler Hall this week in their indoor facility, Glick. So it's going to be blaring in Bryce's ear. They're going to make sure to be doing that. So they might have to go on a silent count this week. And it's different. It's as much as I hate the Spartans, I think, it's a kind of a crazy atmosphere in there. It gets loud and you have to be locked in, and the offense's operation especially has to be tight, and they have to have a good plan going into this week.
How do you obviously you got a bunch of guys that are young. I mean, you go across the offense. I mean, Bryce Underwood, Andrew Marsh, Blake Frazier, Jake Ornera, Andrew Sprague, just so many young players, Jordan Marshall. Some of these guys have been on the team for the MSU game, but everyone I just mentioned didn't play against MSU last year, I don't believe. Maybe on special teams you saw Sprague or Ornera, but how do you prepare them for this rivalry? Especially it isn't exactly a genteel, we talk about sibling rivalry here. It's not exactly one that is very kind. You know what I mean? How do you prepare them for that?
Yeah. And I think, when I was there in 23, I was new, right? So all Michigan's traditions were kind of new to me, and I didn't maybe understand the meaning, the true meaning and the true emotion behind it, a lot of the time. But Coach Harbaugh always did a great job of, the first day of the week, we came into team meetings. He would always put up on the board, the tradition of the rivalry, the meaning of the rivalry, what the trophy is, and videos that showed the emotion of what this game meant and the record of the rivalry. So I would automatically, the first day of the week, just get a whole feel of, what this game was about and what it meant to Michigan. So that was pretty cool. And that's what they're going to do this week. And the freshmen have been exposed to that last year. And it's a cool thing, I hope they carried on, and they do with these boys, just to show the raw emotion of this game. These teams do not like each other. They would, I would almost say, hate each other. And a lot of the fans do as well. And it's a great college rivalry. And, these boys are going to have to be locked in this week. And I'm sure by the end of the week, they know what this rivalry means in their second year. Even the true freshmen in their first year, they should know what it means.
All right. Well, let's get into the game itself, and let's get the final preview prediction as we have a rare Friday episode with as we're in the pocket with Jack Tuttle. Let's continue on here in just a moment. But before we do, it's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered. Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Michigan, obviously, we just did Cole Sullivan earlier. This time, I'm going to go with Andrew Marsh, just with that one big catch. It was absolutely needed to continue the drive, to keep it going. And when the pressure was on, Marsh came through, made the one added catch with no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, you know that this is what he is capable of. Andrew Marsh is now on a streak. And just like Andrew Marsh delivered for Michigan, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You can save every Saturday you order, stack up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. We're going to continue on momentarily, but before we do, the NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Jack, you've seen Michigan State in action. What is your fear level going into this game? How much do you feel like Michigan's going to be able to play its game and do what it needs to do? I know MSU, they love screens. Michigan didn't necessarily fully fix the glitch last week, but they definitely played the screens a heck of a lot better. But when you look at the MSU offense versus the Michigan defense, what do you see?
MSU offense versus the Michigan defense, I think Coach Martindale is going to be, locked in. He showed, he showed this last year, and showed it again this year, that he has the ability to rebound. He's a great defensive coordinator. Both, a lot of people have given him a lot of crap, and Wink has done a good job, in my opinion, and he's going to continue doing a good job this game. I think, as long as they get pressure on Aiden Childs and they contain the quarterback run, I wasn't calling the game, but consulting the game with Devin and Nebraska, and when Michigan State was there, and Aiden found some success in the QB run game and scrambling around and making plays, and that's how Michigan State was able to score a lot of the time. So if Michigan is able to contain the quarterback scramble and the quarterback run, I think they're going to be just fine. And, obviously they have some passing threats, Nick Marsh and a couple other guys. They're just going to have to make sure they stay on top of them and don't allow big plays.
It's kind of negligible at some point. Like, this should be the best defense that they've seen, Michigan State. I'm reticent to say the best team, because obviously Michigan lost to USC the way they did, and it was about as bad as Michigan State lost to USC. But certainly Michigan's defense is something unlike what the Spartans have seen thus far. And it won't be an offense that they've seen in terms of, Michigan State's played some top offenses. They've played USC, they've played Indiana, which... Quick aside, I remember watching you when you played for Indiana playing against Michigan State. I think you guys won that game too. The one that you started in I think in that game.
We were close to winning. I played Michigan State so much I can't even remember. But
you've been in college football since it started, so
yeah, exactly. I've had a good game versus Michigan State. I've also had a bad one. But Indiana, we've won against them. We've lost against them a couple times. But I think we lost the one maybe you're talking about. It wasn't my best game, obviously. But, I think that was the year they had K9, Kenneth.
Yeah, that was it, and that's right.
They were solid that year. They had a good defense.
But it was a fun.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It was a blast of a game. So they had a good team that year. I don't know if they have that kind of guy in their backfield this year, but it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen.
With that in mind, how much? And we can talk Michigan's offense versus their defense. I feel like their defense isn't much to write home about. So let's how much do you kind of fear in terms of, they're going to empty the clip. Michigan's going to have to defend against things that they probably haven't seen. The extracurriculars that they will actually throw, despite what Nick Marsh said this week about the idea that they have to guard against Michigan's extracurriculars. How much fear of the unknown / this particular rival do you have going into the game?
Yeah. So when you're facing an opponent like this, they really have nothing to lose. So, I expect their coaching staff, their offense and defense to they're going to empty the clip, and people may be worried about it, but that's probably what's going to happen. So, just being realistic here, this is a team with their backs up against the wall. Right. And they are going to do everything they can to win this game, because in their minds, they're thinking, hey, guys, if we win this game and we beat Michigan, can you imagine what the rest of our season, this could bounce back our season and turn our whole program around. This is a program changing game for them. Right. And Michigan cannot allow, this to happen. They can't stoop down to, I'm going to say they can't stoop down and get overwhelmed by the, environment and play down. They have to play up to the Michigan's level, and Michigan has to play up to their own level. Sorry. And be the team that they were this past week and keep improving and growing. And, they have a lot of confidence right now. So, as long as they keep doing that and keep being themselves, they're going to be just fine this week. But yeah, Michigan State's going to throw everything they have at them. So they got to be ready.
All right. If you were going to predict how this game's going to go, give me, put on your prognosticator hat and say, how do you think this game ends up going? What does it end up looking like if you were to take a guess, knowing both of these teams?
Yeah, I'm sticking by the boys this game. I think they're going to dominate in the run game. Michigan State struggled stopping the run and quite frankly, at times rushing the quarterback. There was an exception. They had a game this year. They did a good job at doing that. But, I think, Bryce is going to keep playing to that level he's shown, and they're going to have a good combination of run and pass. They may run the ball earlier to kind of, get the noise to die down and maybe just say, hey, we're taking control of this game. It's Smash Mouth football. This is Michigan football. That may happen early and then, open up some pass later on. But, I think the Wolverines are going to pull away and going to be very happy with their victory on Saturday night.
I think I go back and forth because part of me looks at this and says, if you put a different team's jersey on this, I would sit there and say, like, this will be the first game that Michigan will really try to pull away since Northwestern last year, as far as a Sharon Moore coach team, not counting Central Michigan. But I think Aiden Childs is going to have some success. I think Wink Martindale will be in his bag, but I think it's just hard to contain a guy like that. You saw that even last year, right? Like they had opportunities even when Michigan started pulling away. MSU got back into it. That said, if Michigan does what it's supposed to do offensively, I mean, MSU has given up 38 points each of the last 3 games. And I understand of those games. I mean, Indiana was one of them, and we know what the Hoosiers are doing right now. But I'm going to go. I think Michigan's going to win. I think the spread on FanDuel, I think, is 14.5 last I looked. I'm going to go Michigan 31, MSU 17. So not covered, but real close there. Like, I think Michigan gets that late score. I think it'll be tight going into halftime. I don't think anyone's going to feel comfortable, but I think that the Michigan having superior line play is going to wear them both down. Wear both sides down, I think.
Fair enough. I would. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything. I was going to give the boys a lopsided score, but I'm not going to do any score predictions. I'm just going to let them play. So, all
right. Sounds good. So, all right. We're avoiding controversy. We think this week, maybe we said something earlier. Maybe chances someone's going to be like, I saw your house and and get.
We're just chatting. We're just doing our jobs and, being honest with each other. That's all we're doing.
Exactly. That's Jack Tuttle. I'm Isaiah Hole. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will talk to you again next week, hopefully discussing a Michigan win in the rivalry game. We'll talk to you then. Peace.